Hi everyone, I'm Deer here at Smash Summit 12 and I'm joined by
Pipsqueak.
Pipsqueak. Welcome to Smash Summit 12. How's your experience been so far? This is your first tournament in the United States, is it?
No, it's actually my second one, but it's been so long since the last one. I went to Genesis 5 as like a somewhat new player, and yeah, I'll say this is my first like real event where I actually have a shot at doing something, you know?
That's fantastic. How have you felt so far? It's the end of day one. You've played part of your pool at least. How has the experience been so far? Is it going as expected?
I guess it's going as expected, but I'm still a bit disappointed. It kind of hurts more when the sets are super doable. I went game 5 with IBDW, and I definitely felt like there were a few things I could have changed versus HBox, and I would have won. So the more doable it is, the more disappointing it is. But yes, I'd say it's gone as expected.
That makes sense. So overall, your second time in the United States. It's been a long time coming. You're supposed to come to the last summit. I'm really glad you're able to make it to this one. How has the experience been so far? You surely were dreaming of this experience. Has it lived up to it? And what maybe surprised you? Yeah.
Well, I have the, experience in that I was here at Summit 9, so I kind of knew what the format would be like. So if I hadn't done that, I'd definitely have been, dreaming about it. But because I had, like, an idea, there was way less stress. And honestly, I haven't even, I've enjoyed it a lot, but I've also actively avoided overindulging, and a lot of it has been about pacing myself and relaxing as much as possible, not playing 18 hours a day, and instead trying to make sure I take it easy and don't burn out before bracket. So I'm enjoying it a lot, but it's not blowing my mind yet.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. So this year has been amazing for you, and now that offline stuff and international travel is more available, I'm sure you have a lot of ideas for 2022. You've been probably doing some thinking about it. What are your goals for 2022 with Melee at the moment, if you have any, or what do you hope to achieve?
Well, so I think this trip has really shown me what I have to change in order to become a super top level threat, and I think, honestly, I've always been more of a intrinsically motivated player. I don't really care too much about rankings. I mostly just have this vision of what I have to change to beat all these players, and that's honestly all I want to do. So I don't have a ranking thing. I guess, obviously, getting top 100 would be nice, given that I've never been. But in general, no, I just want to figure out the stuff that I've been working on here, and that Cody's been very kind to point it out, Leffen's pointed it out, and now that I have ideas of what I want to change, I feel like my goal is just do that and then get rewarded for doing it. And exactly how that'll manifest, how I'll place or who I'll beat, that's not as important. It's more I'll get the feedback loop of I've changed this and now I do better. Woo!
That makes sense. That's really exciting. So what are some of the different... So beyond just the players at this summit, there's also a lot of VIPs, more than I think there have ever been. And there's a lot of really talented players. So you've been getting a chance to play a lot of people here. What do you think about playing players in the United States and Europe? Is there any difference, do you feel? Tell me about that.
Yeah, there's a really, really big difference, which is that I'd say there's a part of the game that is basically completely non-existent in Europe, which is just that you'll play someone and they'll do what's correct, but they'll never deviate from it in order to call out habits, whereas even a mid-level player here, they'll have a solid baseline, but as soon as they notice they have this bad habit of jumping in this spot or something, they'll start calling it out. Yep. So in some ways, playing a mid-level player here is better practice than playing a top-level player in Europe, even though you'll have a harder time playing the person in Europe, because they'll do the thing they do no matter what happens. And once you learn how to beat that, you've learned how to beat a really refined playstyle, but it's still just a small aspect, whereas here you'll get a lot more of the back and forth, I've started noticing your habit, you've started noticing my habit, and we have to mix it up. You're going to hard call it out, stuff like that. So adaptation as a skill is a lot more prevalent at lower and mid-level players here. And I think that's sort of a consequence of how every top player in Europe, you kind of have to super lab it out and be really studious. But because none of the current top players have this more natural style, there's no one to take after, so all of the mid-level, they're all sort of just copying parts of what the top level are doing, whereas here, there's such a huge scope of players that everyone can copy from so many sources, and also since the top players do this here, that skill also carries over. Like you'll have the like mind games, you know, and they'll be worse at executing. They'll have like worse punish games. They'll have maybe worse move choices, but they will just jump shine you in order to kill you in one hit because you're bad and you jump in the same spot every time, you know?
That makes sense. I hope the games we played earlier this weekend were useful then. That makes sense. Cool. Pipsqueak, I really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else you want to say or shout out before we end the interview?
Yeah, I want to say that I'm very sorry I haven't been at Galint. It's an amazing event, and I'm very happy that you put it on every time. So, yeah, thank you very much. And hopefully, I'll be able to go to one of the later ones.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you at a future GMO and maybe at BalaBC next year as well. Cool. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the time at Summit. Cheers.